Awesome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Legendary Chiropractor Podcast. We are officially live tonight with Dr. Ryan Carlson tuning in from Arkansas. And I couldn't be more thrilled to be sitting down with Dr. Ryan again. I know we did a group conversation in the Legendary Chiropractor free group. If you missed that previous conversation, I highly encourage you to hop in there, check that out, because we pre-framed a lot of stuff we're going to be talking about in that conversation for this conversation tonight. So we're going to continue the entire conversation about associating, opening up your own practice, Dr. Ryan's success in his opening up of his own practice. And then we're going from there, right? We're going to talk all about level up mentoring, what that means to you guys as students, as recent grads, as veteran doctors, and how to get further involved, because Dr. Brad Glowacki and Dr. Ryan Carlson are doing incredible things for this profession. And we want to make sure that you guys know everything that's going on inside their brains, because they're just trying to help you, and I want to put you in front of them. So without further ado, we're going to cut to a sponsor break. We're going to thank our initial sponsors. When we get back from thanking them, Dr. Ryan's going to introduce himself. He's going to take the mic, take the floor, and share his chiropractic story and his success so far in chiropractic. So we'll be right back, everyone. To Inspire Women is the elite boutique coaching company for chiropractors who are looking to live life and run business in a way that is personal, unique, and authentic. They focus on business systems and money mindset mastery so you can pay down debt, be more profitable, and serve more people. Their goal is to empower you to achieve success by your own rules and your own definition. Head to toinspirewomen.com now, because they know there's a better way. Chiro HD, superior cloud-based practice management software. Chiro HD is a user-friendly, all-in-one EHR solution built with one mission: to help you run your practice like a boss. Learn more at chirohd.com. Dr. Brad Glowacki runs one of the highest volume, highest profile, highest profitability practices in the world, and it's all run with vitalistic communication procedures. Those procedures from his office are then shared with other chiropractors at his various trainings as a part of Level Up Mentoring. This information is created, developed, tested, and then packaged simplistically before being taught. With bruises and scars from making mistakes, Dr. Glow always delivers refined content that is battle-tested and simplified for use on Monday. To level up your life and practice, head over to levelupmentoring.rocks. That's levelupmentoring.rocks. Total Clinic Solutions is your go-to source for purchasing both brand new and refurbished chiropractic equipment, as well as phone support for repairs and maintenance. Call Derek and allow him to combine your wishes and his 23 years of chiropractic equipment expertise to find what's best for you and your patients at 704-622-4089, or head to totalclinicsolutions.com now. It's time that chiropractors look beyond spinal alignments and measure the nerve connections that keep our patients feeling strong and performing at their peak. CLA designed the Insight scanning technologies to transform exams and generate powerful reports that give practitioners the certainty they have been searching for. Learn how CLA has partnered with practices around the world by going to insightcla.com. Easily share your passion for chiropractic and look good doing it with Above Down Apparel, offering a premium lineup of principled apparel that's impossibly soft, sustainably sourced, and chiropractic AF. Visit abovedown.co and follow them on Instagram to learn more and score yourself some sweet chiro swag. Sked is the all-in-one system that allows for amazing control and flexibility of your scheduling. Your next new hire. Every aspect of when and where you service your customers is at your command. Sked is tightly integrated with your existing EHR system. This software was made by a chiropractor specifically for chiropractic. No joke. Go check out their latest care plan feature by heading to go.sked.life/legendarypod. Dr. David Toohill is an innovative product and marketing strategist, bridging the gap between your vision and strategic plan. He will help you design specific products and processes that are both scalable and set up to produce long-term revenue and growth. He has previously worked with influencers that include Dr. Josh Axe, Jordan Rubin of Ancient Nutrition, Olympic gold medalist Shawn Johnson, and many, many others. Schedule your call with Dr. Dave today by heading to meetwithdrdave.com. Thank you for allowing this brief disruption to take place. And now back to the program. All right, welcome back everybody to the Legendary Chiropractor Podcast. As per usual, I am your host, Johnny Reuter, and tonight we have a very special guest with us, and a very dear friend, Dr. Ryan Carlson, is on the mic, and he is going to be dropping some knowledge all about associating, opening up his experience, and we're going to be talking about level up mentoring as well, because, you know, the best in the biz, the Legendary Chiropractor, as well as Level Up Mentoring, we deserve to give the best content. So we're going to do that tonight. So with that being said, Doc, I give you the floor. I give you the mic to introduce yourself, tell your chiropractic story, how you ended up where you are today. Go for it.
Right on. Well, that's a lot to fit in a short amount of time, but I'll try my best, Johnny.
You got it.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I am super excited to be here, and always a pleasure to be doing any type of podcast with you. Yeah, I mean, where I started out was in a little farm town in Minnesota. That's where I grew up. And kind of going through school, I always thought I wanted to be in the healthcare field. So actually started off going for pharmacy, believe it or not. I'm not sure if I've ever told you that yet. So I started off going for pharmacy, Johnny, and just realized partway through school that it wasn't the right thing for me. There was actually one thing that one of my pharmaceutical biochemistry teachers said one day in class. He said, I envision a world where someday everybody is going to be on at least 7 preventative medications. And it just sat with me the wrong way. I mean, it didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to, kind of my innate thought process. So I was actually started looking for other careers, even though I was partway through that program. And I stumbled upon our profession because my sister-in-law had just started chiropractic school. And man, I made the switch. I haven't looked back since. I went to Northwestern Health Sciences University, and it was a good education. I got what I needed out of there, but I needed more for the business, more for the systems and the procedural side of things. Thankfully, I had a great group of friends in school that knew the philosophy of chiropractic, so I got that as I went through the process. But man, it was a blast, and spent couple years out in Southern California with Dr. Brad Glowacki. I was one of his catch and release doctors. I'm sure we'll get into what that means at some point here tonight. So I spent some time with him, learned the ropes, learned how to run a business and, grow your practice to $1 million practice. And then about 15 months ago, I opened here in Arkansas. And I always say Arkansas, Johnny, and I always joke because, I always go in when I speak in like Australia, or if I'm speaking in Europe for some of the coaching that I helped Dr. Brad with, I always say, look, if you guys don't know where Arkansas, it's totally cool because there's a lot of people in the States that don't even know where Arkansas is. So it's just one of those states where it's like, it's just kind of there, but it's a great place to be. We're right nestled in the Ozark Mountains. It's a beautiful place to practice. I'm in Bentonville, which is the northwest corner. It's the world headquarters of Walmart, Tyson Chicken, and also JB Hunt. So we got a lot going on here. It's a great place to practice. And man, I'm just stoked to get back to this profession.
Awesome. Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the mic tonight. And we're breaking down all sorts of things tonight. And like I said, we did a previous video in my group, the Legendary Chiropractor free group, exclusively for group members. So if you have not seen that video, please go back into that group or ask to be a part of that group, and we will gladly welcome you with open arms, because that conversation that Dr. Ryan and I had will pre-frame a lot of what we are talking about tonight, but we will, of course, go into details and a plethora of them for you tonight as we break down associating versus opening up, what that looks like for people. But first, I want to take them on the classic graduation journey, right? What are our steps pre-graduation? What are our steps post-graduation? And how do we end up in a successful position? Go ahead, Doc.
Well, it really comes down to what it is that you want to do. So I always start with the long term in mind, because there's really two tracks that you can go in with our profession. I mean, you can either open your own practice at some point in time, or the other side of things is you can associate, and both are great options. Both are necessary. It just really needs to fit your mold. So if you know where you want to eventually end up, we can kind of break that down into some subcategories of it. Because, I mean, if you want to get to the point where you are an associate and that's all you want to do for your whole career, which again is totally fine. It's very admirable, and we need that in our profession. What I would recommend is getting really, really good at the communication aspect, because what you're probably going to be looking for if you're in a position like that is you're going to want a long-term position. You're going to want a position where you can grow within the practice that you're at and ultimately continue to get paid more and more yourself. And it's a really good opportunity. It's a really good solution for a lot of people, because if you don't want to have the worry about the business and the system side of things, and you want to show up, you want to give love, you want to adjust, and you want to do what our profession is really made for, like, that is just such a cool thing to do. But you have to know how to communicate what we do in order to be valued in any type of practice and really get paid what you're worth, so that you can pay off your student loans. Because as you and I know, we definitely have a lot of student loans coming out of school, Johnny.
That's to say the least.
Yeah. So that's one track. The other track is if you do want to open up your own. I always see kind of a couple ways to do this as well. One option is, of course, right out of school. If you got the capital, you have the money in order to do it, you have the business sense in order to do it, you have the drive in order to do it. It's a great option for a lot of people. You can start fresh out of the gates, but the only pre-frame that I'd give to that is you better know what you're doing, because it's definitely one of those things where, you can get off to a bad start really quickly, and it's hard to recover from that. I think 90% of small businesses fail within the first 10 years. I think that's the stat that's out there right now. So if you want to be one of the 10%, one of the businesses that succeeds past 10 years, again, you got to know what you're doing right out of the gates. But another track, which I think is also a really good one for a lot of people, is if you know that you eventually want to open up your own practice, but you just don't know how to do that right out of school, you can kind of do what I did, which is, something like, work a year and a half or 2 years, or maybe even a few more at a rock star office, and learn the ropes, learn the business side of things, learn the systems, learn how to adjust, get your hands on a lot of people, and really kind of make some mistakes on the doctor's dime that you're going to be working with. And that can be a really good way to go about it as well. So that's kind of where I want to start with that question, Johnny, is just kind of lay out the different tracks that you can take, because those are probably the main three, right? I mean, it's a long-term associate, it's open up right out of the gates, or it's work with somebody for a period of time. We call that a catch and release in Level Up Mentoring, and then go crush it in your own practice beyond that once you have the skills and the knowledge in order to do it.
100%. Yes. And I actually just wrote those down because I do want to break them down further. And I want to ask you, like, what your tips and tricks would be for all of them. Because, I mean, here's the reality is you do have those three options. You can open up right away. And I actually wrote on my sheet in front of me, I said, open, then learn, right? It's kind of like that saying, I might botch this, but it's kind of like that saying, like, ready, fire, aim, right? It's kind of like, okay, we're just going to open and then learn from there, right? We're going to learn from mistakes and experiences, right. And then, or we're going to hire somebody to help us out. And it's just kind of like, you kind of feel like you got your back against the wall sometimes. And then the long-term associate, I'm glad you brought that up, because the long-term associates, like you said, it's an incredibly admirable position. And we need long-term associates in order to continue to sustain the chiropractic profession and keep growing into our communities. And that's really what a long-term associate's for. And then it's just a classic job, right? You have a boss, you have structure, you have pay, it's good, right? And it's just kind of a classic job as I would put it. And then you mentioned a catch and release. And this is a term that I really want the chiropractic profession to kind of take hold of and own, because this is a really important term. And some people have mentioned to me, catch and release, what does that mean? It might sound not great, but it's like, you got to understand what it is before you judge it, right? So let me explain in my terms, and then I'm going to let you kind of break these three down for us as well. So a catch and release, right, is going to be a short term, like Dr. Ryan said, that you do for about 18 to 24 months, right? You're an associate for about 18 to 24 months. You step into that office, you step in with that doctor, and you learn as much as you can. You are a sponge, and you help that doctor not only grow their office, but you learn everything that it takes and more to open up your own successful practice after those 18 to 24 months, right? And so it's a really cool option. And Dr. Ryan and Dr. Brad Glowacki have put together their program, and their, all of Level Up Mentoring is based on, hey, let's get your business right. Let's get your systems right. Let's get your procedures right. But also, hey, once you're ready to scale, let's make you scalable, right? In the sense of, let's bring someone on, let's train them, and then let's create more amazing chiropractors that go into communities, help people heal from the inside out. And that's what this is all about. That's what the whole program's about. So catch and release, in my opinion, should be a term that everybody should know. Talk to us about your kind of take on what a catch and release is, and kind of give us some more details on that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's exactly what you said. It's like 18 to 24 months where you spend time in another practice, and I would go as far as to say, spend more time than you think you would. Like, not 40 hours in a week. I'm not even talking 60 hours in a week, Johnny. I'm talking like every minute of every day is focused on learning, because for that year and a half, for that 2 years, you are literally learning exactly what it takes to run your own practice out of the gates. You're going to be underpaid, you're going to be overworked, but what's so cool is the experience. And that's what the best part of it is, because in my opinion, I could almost validate somebody paying a doctor to go through an experience like that. Like, if they have the right office and they have the right systems and procedures that they're learning, what they're really getting out of it is the $1 million recipe. And yeah, so you can take a couple years and you can take a hit on pay. And I'm not going to mention any numbers, but just one of those things where maybe it's 30,000, maybe it's 60,000, something along those lines, right? I mean, it's not great pay, but what you can do is get the $1 million recipe. You get enough to live, but you're going to be spending every moment of your time learning what to do, learning the systems, getting the business side of things down, deepening your own philosophical beliefs as far as what we do, getting your hands on people and adjusting, but just learning what you need to do to run $1 million practice so that you can go essentially start up, and then your first year be tremendously successful and probably make more that first year than you might have otherwise made in those first 3 years if you came right out of the gates and didn't know what you were doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree. And it's incredible to me that opportunity even exists. I'm currently in a CNR, or catch and release, situation myself. And I absolutely love it, but you got to be so hungry to learn. You got to be so hungry to be coachable. You have to be able to be in an environment, and that's what's so cool about the docs that do this program, is that they create a space for you to kind of learn from their mistakes, but also give you some room to make your own mistakes and say, hey, what did we learn from that today, right? What did we learn from that? How could we handle that better next time? Because in reality, guys, there will always be a next time for that situation to occur again, right? There's no cookie cutter to this, but there is always a next time. And Dr. Ryan, I'm sure you have some stories for us, but it's like, oh, I'll never see that again, right? And then it's like, wait a second, I just dealt with this, last week or 2 weeks ago, and here's how I could have handled it better. But if you didn't take that time to learn, or you didn't have that person to give you the mentorship, to give you the guidance, to give you the leadership and say, hey, here's what I would have done in this situation. Here's what you could learn. And now go get it next time, right? And that's really what it's all about, which I think is super cool. And I also want to mention, right, because the top 3 things that we hear from most associates, most candidates, are, number 1 is location, right? Where are you located? And we're going to break this down after the ad break here in a second, but location is number 1. Number 2 is salary. And number 3 is actually mentorship and guidance. So those are the top 3 things that most associates, most interested candidates are actually looking for to this day, right? And all of those are offered, obviously, in a long-term associateship, but they're not offered in opening up right away. You don't get that experience with somebody, and you can't learn on somebody else's dime, right? Which I think is pretty cool, because it sounds bad, But if you understand how the game works, right? How it works is you are pouring into their office as much as they are pouring into you, and you need to understand that, right? But I want to break down those 3 things I just mentioned when we come back from thanking these sponsors, because those are going to be huge points that I really want to drive home for people. We'll be right back, guys. Every chiropractic clinic needs a compliance program. If you are not sure what that includes or why you need one, let Dr. Robin from RHDC Consulting help you build your chiropractic compliance. If you are ready to get started, head to robin-hale.mykajabi.com and let Dr. Robin guide you to the end result. Dr. Christy Wick is revamping the landscape of women's chiropractic coaching. With a focus on connection and congruence, she's on a mission to empower Lady DCs across the nation to create bold, successful lives and practices their way. Get started today by visiting theilluminatedsquad.com. Thank you for allowing this brief disruption to take place. And now back to the program. Awesome, guys. Welcome back to the Legendary Chiropractor Podcast. Dr. Ryan Carlson and I are breaking it down, having a great evening tonight and a great conversation. So, Doc, I want to start with those 3 things I just mentioned before the ad break, right? Location, salary, mentorship. Those are the top 3 things that candidates and interested applicants are looking for out of a potential associateship. So here's the reality. Talk to us about the first one, location. What is that all about? Should they practice where they want to eventually live? Should they work where they want to potentially live? I want your opinion on that because I have my own opinions on it. So I want to hear what you got to say.
So if I had to guess, Johnny, I would say this is probably the number one thing that people want to know when they're looking for some sort of an associateship.
Yes.
Where's the location?
Yes.
And I'm going to say that out of those 3 things that you mentioned, it's probably at the bottom of the totem pole. That's number 3. That's the third thing that you should be concerned about, because here's the really cool thing about a catch and release opportunity is you can take a 1.5 or 2 years of your life and you can go somewhere that you never thought you'd ever live, ever. I mean, it could be somewhere here in the US. It could even be over in freaking Europe. It could be in Australia. Like it's so cool. We've had catch and release docs that go all over the world. And it's really a cool opportunity because not only are you going to learn the systems and the procedures wherever you go, but you can literally do it in another part of the country that you might have never experienced before in your life. Like I went out to Southern California. Johnny, I grew up on a farm 3 miles outside of a town of 900 people. The closest Walmart was 25 miles away. The closest mall was an hour away. So for me, a farm boy from Minnesota going to Southern California, it was a bit of a culture shock. And it is exactly what I needed. Like it was so cool just to experience something completely different from what I wanted or what I expected. I mean, I knew it wasn't a place that I was going to be long term. I knew it wasn't where I was going to be happy long term. But it was a great experience for a 1.5 or 2 years to go live somewhere else. So I think location is actually at the bottom of the totem pole. I would say go somewhere that you don't want to practice in the future, because the flip side of practicing in the area where, or I should say associating in the area where you eventually want to practice, is there's always non-competes and contracts. And you actually might be setting yourself up for failure later on, or you might be setting yourself up for, not being able to practice in the exact area that you wanted to because of some sort of non-compete clause that you have with your doctor that you're going to be working with. So that's my advice is, as far as location goes, go somewhere else. Try another state, try another country for all I care. Like just go somewhere else and really get the culture of another experience and be somewhere far away from where you want to practice. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And I couldn't agree more. I really think it is the number one thing people are looking for. The first question I always get if I'm connecting someone, because we run our job board and everything like that, if I'm connecting someone, they'll be like, the first question they'll ask is, where's it located, right? Where's the internship or where's the associateship? And it's like, okay, it's in X, right? If it was Arkansas, it's in Arkansas, right? But it's so hard to shatter that belief that has been built up in us to think that we should go and work wherever we want to practice. And unfortunately, that's the rumor we hear. So that's what we stick to. That's what we go by. And like you said, it should be at the very bottom of your considerations for a place, because especially if you're doing more of a short-term associateship and then you're going to open up a practice after that, it should definitely be at the bottom, because like you just said, all you want to do is go get a different culture, get a different experience, serve and love on people, learn the $1 million recipe, and then go somewhere else in the world and start your own thing, right?
Well, and yeah. Here's the other side of that is it's a lot easier to really pour into another practice and learn the $1 million recipe if you're not around family. And I mean that in the best way, because family, while they're phenomenal and of course we want to be close to them, it can absolutely be a distraction during the first couple years when you're learning what it is that you need to do. Mm-hmm. So I say, again, take a couple years, get away from wherever you want to be, get away from family, just go somewhere where you literally don't know anybody, and just spend that time absorbing what you need to do, learn a new experience, and it's just going to be one of the best things that you can do, in my opinion, if you do choose that route.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree. And I'm just going to touch on these second two here before we move into our next topic, because salary, you mentioned, your low wages, a lot of hours, right? But I'm going to kind of beg to differ in the sense of what our expectations are, or what expectations of recent grads are coming out of school is astronomically high. Unfortunately, right? Because it's like we were, I just earned a doctorate degree. I should be paid what I'm worth, blah, 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 blah. But in reality, think of it this way, right? Would you pay a toddler the same you would pay someone your age right now? The answer is absolutely not, right? I'm not going to pay a toddler the same I would a high schooler to mow my lawn, right? So in reality, why would you pay an associate, a first-year associate who is a baby in chiropractic, a toddler in chiropractic sense, business sense, philosophical sense, craft art sense, right? All of the three stools, right, or the three-legged stool, they're a toddler in those regards. Right. And then why would you just think you deserve to be paid an astronomical amount for being a first-year associate or a toddler in chiropractic? I get where we're coming from in certain regards, but man, it breaks my heart, because if you can work for a solid wage, right, especially these days, right around probably, I'd throw out a number around 50 to 65, somewhere in there. If you're able to find a place right in that ballpark, right? And you're able to live off of that. You're able to, store some money away in savings, whatever you got to do. But you are able to learn what Dr. Ryan is calling the $1 million recipe during that time. Man, that is priceless. That is absolutely priceless. And then the third thing is mentorship and guidance. You will get that in a short-term associateship, right? If it is meant to be in a short-term associateship, you have an exit strategy or exit plan in mind, saying at the end of 18, 24 months, this is my plan. I plan to go blank, blank, and open up, right? Great. Let me pour into you. Let me teach you the recipe. Let you be successful in my office first, and then you go recreate that elsewhere. Would you agree with what I just said there?
100%. Yeah. I mean, that's the exact mindset to have around salary. I mean, you're as green as they come when you come out of chiropractic school. Like, you cannot expect to get paid $100,000. It's not going to happen. Or if it does, it shouldn't. it just shouldn't, because you need to really kind of have that scrappiness. That's kind of the word I would put around it, I guess. And I would say, start at like the 50 to 60,000, something along those lines. That would be a realistic expectation. And then I think, if it's a win-win situation for you and for the doc that you would be working with, set up some metrics and some goals around some different things that you can hit to get bonused, because then as much as you put into the practice, you can literally reap the reward of. And that's what Dr. Glow and I set up, is we had a great bonus program. So the harder I worked and the more people that I got into the practice, the more people that I signed up for care, of course, the more he profited, but the more I profited as well, which was just such a cool way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I'm glad you brought up the bonus structure as well. That's something every associate's looking for, so I wanted to mention that. And I'm so glad Dr. Ryan was able to be on the mic for that conversation because it's so important to understand that. So I'm going to thank our last sponsors here. And when we come back from that, we're going to talk all about Level Up Mentoring, what that means for you, how to get further involved, and what kind of events are like, and where they are, when they are, all that good stuff. So we'll be right back from thanking these last few sponsors here. Dr. Stu Hoffman, founder and president of ChiroSecure Malpractice Insurance, is the foremost expert in both risk management and risk avoidance. Understanding the everyday challenges of today's practicing chiropractor and the current public perception of chiropractic has made ChiroSecure the fastest growing malpractice insurance program of the last 28 years. Find out more at chirosecure.com. Imaging Services' primary business is chiropractic solutions. With over 5 years in the industry of helping chiropractors, Michael Tokash offers free consultations on building your business. In the past year, Imaging Services has installed over 100 X-ray machines and digital X-ray systems in over 42 states across the United States. For more, head to theimagingservices.com. Thank you for allowing this brief disruption to take place. And now back to the program. Fantastic. Welcome back, everybody. Live with Dr. Ryan Carlson tonight. And we just talked about associating catch and release program and what that means, what that 18 to 24 months can mean for you and your chiropractic future. And now I want, Dr. Ryan, I want you to share your success story going from a catch and release situation for, I think, 18 to 24 month contract, and then having an exit strategy, and now you're in Arkansas absolutely blowing it up. So talk to us about that situation.
Yeah, so I was with Dr. Brad for right around 18 months, just under. And during that time, again, I learned what I call the $1 million recipe. It's how to have $1 million practice per year, gross profit or gross collections, and ultimately having the systems and the procedures down and only fill your practice and go from 0 to 200 in a really quick amount of time. But beyond that, having the profits along with it. And again, that's part of what we teach in Level Up Mentoring, is what those systems and procedures look like, what those profits look like. And that's one of the value adds of kind of going from a catch and release into a Level Up office, is you're going to get those exact same systems. You're going to get those procedures that I got with Dr. Brad, because when I went to his practice, he can only take one catch and release at a time. So what's so cool about, the system that we have with Level Up Mentoring is you can get the exact same thing that I got, but just at a different Level Up office. You're going to get the exact same systems, the exact same procedures, so that you can get that $1 million recipe as well. So I'm sitting in my practice right now about 15 months in, and in the first 12 months, we did collect over $1 million in my first year of practice. We collected $1,070,000 to be exact. And again, it wasn't easy. It was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of sweat equity. It was long hours in the office, but I got the recipe. And that's what was so cool about the catch and release, is I just knew what to do coming out of the gates. I knew how to fill the practice, and it was just such a cool experience. So we went from 0 to 200 weekly patient visits in the first couple months. I went from 0 to 300 in the first 4 months, and then we crossed the 400 threshold right before COVID hit, and then of course we retracted a little bit. We just crossed 350 again in our office here this week, so we're on the uptick. But it's such a cool experience when you can ultimately have the systems and the procedures down from going to a catch and release model. You got the $1 million recipe. You can just crush it right out of that experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you nailed it on the head. And I absolutely appreciate you sharing that success story, because a lot of people don't think it's a reality, right? And it's kind
right.
of this, I guess it's a bad connotation, I guess it has, but that like whole $1 million practice thing, right? Because a lot of people use it as like a sales tactic, right? But in reality, it's attainable and it's achievable. And you have to understand that But you have to have the right systems, the right procedures, the right marketing strategies to move forward with actually making that a reality for yourself, for your family, for your community. Because here is the actual reality. The more you bring in, the more in regards to people and in regards to profits, the more you are not only helping your community, but you are able to turn around and help the chiropractic profession. And what better sandwich than that? That is the perfect thing to do, right? You're loving on your community, you're serving people, you're teaching them true health and wellness, and then you're turning around and you're helping the chiropractic profession to grow and to be sustainable in vitalistic chiropractic. And I think that's really, really important. And that's where Level Up, in my opinion, shines, right? In all regards. So talk to us now about Level Up Mentoring. What is it? What can people expect when they go to a seminar? What should be their first seminar, especially as a recent grad or student? And how do they get there?
Yeah, well, Level Up Mentoring has mentoring in the name because we're really clear that it's not coaching, right? It's not called Level Up Coaching because we're still in the game. A coach is on the sidelines. He or she is not actually playing in the game. But Dr. Brad Glowacki and myself, we're mentors. We're still in practice. We still see patients every single day. We still adjust. We still do the systems. We still hire team members. We still fire team members. Like, we go through the daily grind, and we know what practice is like in this year. And it's one of those things where a lot of the coaches that are in this profession, they haven't been in practice for the last 10, 15, 20 years. And, a lot of what they share might have worked 20 years ago, but it's hard to bring that same level of practice knowledge into the current unless you're still in the game and still in the trenches doing it. So Level Up Mentoring is really a whole practice, type of system and procedural program. There's online modules. There's an online Facebook group so that you can get real-time live questions answered from every single continent. We actually have, I guess not everyone. We have 4 different continents of doctors in our group. So it's really cool to get different perspectives from, even different parts of the world in our group, and what chiropractic is like in the different parts of the world. But going along with that, you have the video modules, you have everything that you need in order to learn how to have your successful practice, and you get everything as you need it. But it starts with an Elements of Closing seminar. That's the very first seminar. It's where you learn the day 1 and the day 2 system and procedural seminars. So essentially how to have a value-driven day 1 where you can, again, just build a ton of value with the patient to bring yourself into a day 2 report of findings that's skinny on time. Because if you can go quick on time because you build such immense value in the day 1, it's just going to make the yes at the end to chiropractic care and getting their miracles, your patient's miracles, super, super simple. But the systems are vitalistically driven to the point where you can also get paid what you're worth. And it's not, like high volume, low fee. What's cool about this system is it's high volume and high fee as well, Johnny.
Yes, absolutely. And I like what you said. Elements of Closing is the first one you need to attend. If you're a recent grad or a student graduating probably in the next 3 to 6 months, I would say, if you're graduating in that time frame, get to an EOC or an Elements of Closing, because it's where you're going to learn the value-driven day 1 and where you're going to learn the skinny day 2 or the efficient day 2, where you're able to be tight on time, but you're able to deliver so much value in that short amount of time, and your patients see it, right? Your patients see it. They're like, oh my gosh, that's where the issue's coming from. That's what a subluxation is. Oh my gosh, why didn't no one tell me this before? Right? And it's like, and you're just sitting there like, yeah, this is it. It's like, yep, this is what we do every day, right? Day in, day out. But for them, it's like, it's kind of deer in headlights kind of situation, but it's the way they teach it at Level Up and Elements of Closing is just it's so raw, so authentic, and it makes it applicable to every single office, any technique that you're doing, because I know Dr. Ryan's doing TRT. He's full on TRT, seeing 350 patients a week, right? The practice I'm in, we're doing Level Up, and we're doing, we're doing full spine diversified, full adjusting, right? So time-wise, it just works. The business systems work. It just makes sense, and it makes a ton of sense not only to you as a doc, but it makes a ton of sense to your patients when they walk in on day 1. They understand that you just want to hear from them. You just want everything out on the table so you can make the best recommendations moving forward, right? And when they see that care, that amount of hope and care from you, the doctor, man, setting up that day 2 or report of findings and going into that, you can go into that with so much confidence. It's out of this world. Would you agree with that?
Awesome profession that we have and what things look like. But what really drew me to Dr. Brad and Level Up Mentoring was just how easy it is and how easy it is to have it across the board. Because there's, a lot of people out there that'll say, well, when you walk in the room, you got to find out what type of personality they are, and you got to change your systems and procedures depending on, if they're an outgoing person or if they're more studious or if they're an intellectual. No, that's exhausting. To literally walk in the room and try and change what you're going to do depending on who you have in front of you, that's really, really hard. So having a system that works for basically every scenario, is systematized, is highly value driven, is vitalistic in its procedures. I mean, I can't tell you how many miracles we've gotten in our first year just by putting people on care plans, getting them out of the pain management conversation, and ultimately getting them into a full wellness mindset. It's just so cool to see somebody come in and they want a couple visits, but then throughout this process, we can literally transform them to saying yes to a care plan, which is absolutely going to change their lives, get their miracles, so that they can go on and be the person that they were meant to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can head to levelupmentoring.rocks. levelupmentoring.rocks. You can check out that website. You can read a little bit more about Dr. Ryan, a little bit more about Dr. Glowacki. You can also find out when the next Elements of Closing is, and that is your starting point. Recent grads and students, I am not kidding you when I say this. This will change the trajectory of your chiropractic career in all of the best ways. And I am not just saying that because I'm living it. I'm living, breathing proof of this literally changing the trajectory of my chiropractic career. Because it's that simple, it's that amazing, and it's that impactful for your patients, your future practice members, and your community. So I highly encourage you to take the advice from Dr. Ryan and I tonight, take our conversation, and make sure you hold it close to your heart, because these conversations matter. And having these conversations for students and recent grads matters, because nobody else is doing this. Nobody else is providing this for you, and we're happy to do it. So please, if you're listening to this, or you saw this, or you're listening to it in the future, reach out to us. Let us know you liked it. Let us know you learned something. That's what this is all about. So Dr. Ryan, I appreciate you being on the show. I want you to say some closing remarks and just give some words of advice to future students and docs, and then we'll wrap it all up, okay?
Yeah. So for you future students, I mean, if you have not graduated yet and you're watching this, just know that you are getting into the best profession out there, man. It is so much fun to walk into your practice every day and just love what you do. I cannot tell you how fun it is to just walk in the practice, high five your patients, and just turn their nervous systems on, because you'll see people that are skeptical when they first come in. And by taking them through the right systems and procedures in your practice, you can literally change their mindset. And I often find that a lot of the skeptical patients that first walk in, or the grumpy old husbands whose wives made them come in because the wives have gotten great results, but again, they're super skeptical, they're not sure what to expect. Those will be some of your best patients if you have the right systems and procedures in order to show them what chiropractic it really is, what we can do in this profession. So my best advice out there is learn to communicate. Learn to communicate what it is that we do. Learn to communicate what a subluxation is, how we fix it. Think of questions you would get from patients, and go spend time in other offices. I would venture to say that the Level Up offices are some of the best out there. Go find a Level Up office near you and learn what these docs are doing. Learn what the common questions are, and practice what your responses would be to patients, because it's only going to set you up for success once you get out in your own practices, or once you get out and you choose to associate. Again, no matter what path you choose, communication is key. Because if you cannot communicate the value of what we do, one, you're never going to be a good long-term associate for anybody out there in our profession. And two, you're never going to be able to make it on your own either. So that's my closing remark, Johnny, is learn to communicate.
I love it. Mic drop. Levelupmentoring.rocks. Levelupmentoring.rocks is your place to go. Go check it out. Also, we have tons of past podcast episodes, recent podcast episodes, and tons of great blog content as well. Head to legendarychiro.com. And if you're a doc listening to this and you want to find an associate, please also head to legendarychiro.com. Check it out. We have a ton of job posting packages for you to check out and view. And we want to help you find your next associate because we want to put more students and recent grads in successful offices because we want them to be successful as well. I love you guys. I appreciate you. John is out for tonight. Dr. Ryan, thank you so much for being on the show. We appreciate you. We love you. And we are rooting you on every step of the way, my man.
My pleasure to be on here. Thank you so much for putting this together, Johnny.
Absolutely. Bye, everyone.